In terms of the NBA, we had a couple of things in particular we wanted to talk about. So, since the last episode we did, we're going to give our reaction to the Trae Young trade as well. So, we'll start things off with that. For me, I was very surprised that Trae Young got traded for a bag of Lay's and a beef stick. That's what I got to say. He got traded for a bag of Lay's and a beef stick, and I love that move for the Washington Wizards. I think
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan in terms of does Trae Young contribute to winning tons and tons of basketball games, which I know that might take some heat. If y'all disagree with me, go ahead and disagree with me. The Hawks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals with Trae Young. I get that. That was a minute ago now, bro. That was a couple seasons ago. And the fact of the matter is that this year the Hawks were better when Trae Young was not on the floor. I love the value for the Washington Wizards, but I'm kind of a little bit iffy on if it's going to actually jumpstart anything for them. I think there's going to be other guys that they need to get outside of just, oh, we have Trae Young. Oh, we have Alex Sarr. Like, that's cool. What else y'all got? You need something else. So I think great value, great jump start, instant. I think the Wizards definitely won that trade for sure. But in terms of the value, I don't know how much he's going to contribute to that Wizards roster right away.
I'm kind of, I agree with you. I think that was a massive win for the Wizards in terms of that trade. I can't believe that the Hawks wouldn't try to maximize the value that they're getting back in that trade. When regardless of not of how he's been playing lately, I feel like we all know that Trae Young carries at least a decently strong package to get a trade for. And that was not what happened whatsoever. So shout out to the Wizards because they absolutely fleeced the Hawks. And I'm kind of in the boat where I don't think that it'll do anything for them this year. And honestly, I don't know how much ball Trae Young is even going to play this year. I've seen reports that are saying they might not play him really at all this year and just let him because he has some minor injuries, but they might just ride it out and let him be on the injured reserve or whatever and try to get a top pick. And that might be the move because if you add one of those top 3 players coming in from next year, that's where I can see this being a potential ball mover here. Is if you Trae Young, add in a Boozer or a Darren Peterson or one of those guys, that's where your bread is going to be buttered right there. So
Your bread's going to
um,
be buttered.
I love it for the Wizards. I think it's a good move, and we'll see how it turns out for them over the next. I think this is one that you got to wait at least a year or two to see how it pans out. So we'll see.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't equate to any winning this year. I mean, the roster is just too much of a dumpster fire right now. You don't really have much to work with, even if you want to make a run. But the fact that you did get Trey Young for less than a first round pick, like Gabe said, bag of chips and
And a beef
maybe
stick.
not even a beef stick, bro. Just the
Not
receipt
even a
paper.
beef stick.
Just the receipt paper. Like they gave you a receipt paper. You said, yeah. But the thing about Trey Young is Trey Young, yes, he doesn't completely equate to winning because he's not an efficient player. But there's a difference between being bad and just being unwatchable, and being bad not being too good in terms of standings, but being watchable and being able to put butts in seats. And for
Valuable.
Washington, they haven't been able to do that for I don't know how long since John Wall. So let's be honest, like Washington has not been that good at all. So now you have Trey Young. Yes, people aren't gonna expect for him to come in and obviously lead them to the playoffs. You're gonna get a whole lot of jersey sales, and you're gonna have a whole lot of fans who are having so much fun just for the fact that he's being there, and if he does play, is electric.
And I think too, Trae Young. My biggest gripe with Trae Young, right? I love Trae Young. He's still a great player. I'm not gonna say he's not a great player. My biggest gripe with Trae Young is everybody always talks about his career average, 25 points, 10 assists over career. That's incredibly impressive. I think he gets the most touches for being like the least talented superstar, if that makes sense. Like he touches the ball the amount of times that like a Luka would, a Donovan Mitchell would, a Tatum would, all these disgusting players in the NBA, a Giannis. But his style of play to me doesn't contribute as much to winning basketball. So
It's just not a team effective style of play. Like, yeah, you have 10 assists, but how many of those 10 assists are just overhand lobs to Clint Capella?
how many of those were overhand lobs to John Collins? How many of them were to Jalen Johnson? How many of those were to this, that, to
It's
whatever?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can take from 10 assists. You can take it like, okay, he's actually producing for his team, or is he just shooting so much that two defenders have to, guard him, and then he obviously finds the person that's open.
I mean, like I said, Trae Young is an incredibly talented basketball player, but I think it is honestly just a fact that Trae Young gets the most touches for probably being the least talented, like, kind of. You're not a superstar, but like you're definitely over a star. You know what I mean? I'd call a star dudes who average like 20, low 20s points. Superstar is like you're contending for an MVP. He's kind of in that middle tier, but he gets the ball like he's a superstar, if that kind of makes sense. So either way, I will say again, Dom, you've been coming with some fire today, brother. I'm gonna give you some props, man. If the Wizards can draft another great player, you know what I mean, a Boozer, a Darren Peterson, anything like that, that's an incredible top three to build off of. 100%. I will agree with that. And that would any of the guys honestly in this year's draft would also fit really well with the Trae Young and an Alex Sarr. It's a lot of wing talent in this NBA draft. Or if you get a Boozer, Boozer's a power forward, or a small forward, whatever you want to call it. He'd fit right in there with Sarr at the 5 or Darren at the shooting guard. He pairs in your backcourt with Trae. It's like either way, that's a dub. If you get either one of those dudes in the draft this year. In the NBA as well. One of the things that I think is really interesting is the 65 game requirement that needs to be met for guys to make the All NBA teams. And this year, it might be a year that kind of jumpstarts them taking that rule away and bringing it back down to, I don't know, maybe you got to play 55, I don't know, 50. Because these are all the guys who are in danger of not making an All NBA team this season out of the injury requirement. And it's practically all of the best guys in the National Basketball Association. So Wemby is in danger of not making it. Jokic is in danger of not making it. Luka is in danger of not making it. Anthony Davis is already not going to make it. I mean, we do call him street clothes, you know what I mean? But still. Anthony Davis is not going to make it. Giannis might not make it. Kawhi might not make it. LeBron can only miss, I think, one more game, and they're already hesitant on him playing back-to-backs. So LeBron probably won't be on an All-NBA team this season. Joel Embiid also, I think, has one or two more games that he can miss before he's completely ineligible for making All-NBA. Austin Reeves, he probably won't make All-NBA. He's still hurt, I'm pretty sure. Paulo Banchero is in danger of not making All-NBA. Jalen Williams, Stephen Curry, and Trae Young he's cut from All-NBA as well. So, I mean, I just named probably, 15 of the 25 or 30 best players in the NBA, I feel like, and those dudes can't make the All-NBA team. So I think it's a legitimate discussion to be had at should the NBA cut this rule altogether and go back to what it originally was, or should they maybe bring it down to 45 games, 55 games? I mean, what do y'all think about this?
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor of having some sort of limit because it doesn't make sense for a guy to be on an All NBA team and they're playing 40 games. So I definitely think there needs to be some kind of limit, but I think we're finding out that 65 might be a little bit too high. I do think that it should come down 10. I think you hit the nail on the head. 55, 50 games. I think that's enough sample size to where you're like, okay, we've seen this guy be elite for enough of the year to say, okay, you make an All NBA team, or you could be MVP. So, and I think we've also talked about this in past podcasts. It's crazy, like if they don't take down the limit, it's like guys like Victor Wembanyama, his accolades for his career are going to be significantly less than if there were no limit, because he should already have a depoy from last year, and he would have another depoy coming this year. So that's two depoys and maybe even an MVP this year that he's missing out on potentially. So it's like, when you think about it in terms of that, it's like, okay, maybe we should figure something else out. And I think that is going to be maybe starting by going to 55 games and see how that works, because the 65 game limit, that's like a new thing within the last couple of years, right? If I'm not mistaken, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Yes.
okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think that was mostly a trial thing, and I get it. The NBA, they're trying to get guys to not intentionally miss games, but while they're doing that, they're also making it so the best players in the NBA don't get recognized with the awards that they should. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm sure they'll figure it out, but I will say I think 65 is starting to show it's a little too much.
Yeah. Yeah, the overall purpose of this rule, I agree with it. Like Dom said, you want to make sure you eliminate people not playing games. Load management was a huge issue for the NBA a couple years ago. People were just, sitting out just because. And, you have fans who are going and want to see people play. And, oh, it's not because they're injured. They just, have another game tomorrow, so they're not going to play today. So that was definitely something that needed to be fixed for sure. And also, just people being voted for things when they've only played half the season. They've only played 40, 45 games, but you're a name like Wemby, you're a name like Embiid. So obviously, you're going to be expected to get those awards. So I do think in those two aspects, it's great. You can't expect somebody to not miss 17 games in a season. Like anything could happen. MCL sprain, ankle sprain, bone contusion, anything like that. It's so common in the NBA. You're playing 82 games. You're not going to be healthy for all those games. It doesn't make any sense that it's 65. I completely understand that you want to make sure people who don't play half the season don't get awards like they shouldn't. But lower it to 50, maybe 55 games, bring back the real value of these awards, because if you don't, awards and accolades aren't going to mean anything in 10 years. Like, we're going to look back and say, like, oh, Wemby only had 3 All NBAs and only 1 Defensive Player of the Year. That's interesting. And this player who's not even close to Wemby has the same amount of All NBAs just because he played 65 games longer. Like, it just doesn't make any sense in that perspective. But, I mean, like, you had to do something. Load management was getting out of control.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. It was crazy how many NBA players would just be sitting out, practically fans knowing that they're not even hurt and they're on the sidelines just laughing
Yeah.
it up while they're getting their
Laughing it up,
rest.
having a great time,
It's like
eating
a smack in
popcorn.
the face. It's like a smack in the face to the NBA and its fans when the best players are sitting out to save their legs just for tomorrow. When, like they said, these people paid great money with the intention of seeing stars play.
Yeah.
And shout out to, one thing too on that, shout out to Kobe. Because Kobe, he said on record numerous times that he always wanted to show up and play every game at his absolute best because he knew the impact that, it had fans watching him play and show up and do good and do his
Yeah.
job. So, and that we need more of that, man. We need more of that. Final thing on that as well. I think the NBA should just make whatever the exact number of games is, where it's the one game over you play the majority of the season. Just make it that.
So
I think
what,
that would be.
43?
I was gonna say I
43?
think that would be like 40, 42 games,
42, 43?
82
Yeah.
game season. So it'd be 40. It'd be 42 games. I know that feels like a low number, but that's where it would kind of come into play. Is it's like, okay, say this guy played 43 games, right? And there's this guy who played 60 games, but their numbers are kind of similar. Maybe the guy that played 43s were slightly better, but the guy that played 60, you could probably just give him the up by a little bit. But if somebody played absolutely phenomenal in the 40, 42 games or whatever that they played, you know what I mean? Then you give it to that guy. So I feel like if you play the majority of the season, that should be enough. You play less than half the season, yeah, you're cut, buddy. You can't make it. You played less than half the season. Play over half the season, sure, we'll give you a chance based on
What
how you
about
play.
41 games?
And
What about 41 games? What about right in the middle?
Got to be over half. You got to play the majority of games. You can't play
Okay.
41. Tough, buddy. Kick rocks. You got should have played one more. That's my personal opinion. I don't know. I don't know. What do y'all think about that? I think majority should be enough. You play half, kick rocks, buddy. Sorry. You play one more, you're good, bro.
I would
Majority
say
of the season.
or so, like maybe 2/3 of the season. I just don't think that half is like enough to justify. Because like if you think about it, like a guy who plays 43 games, right? His sample size is much smaller than that guy who's playing 65 games. And right, like you said,
Right.
that's close enough. It should always go to the guy who plays more games. But in a voter's eye, let's say it's Victor who's playing 43 games. It's I don't know Evan Mobley who's playing 65 games, but their stats are kind of similar or whatever. But it's like, oh, it's Victor Wembanyama though. We have to give it to Victor Wembanyama. So I think that 40. I see what you're saying. I get what you're saying that like if you play a majority of it, you should be involved. But I think it needs to be a little bit more than around half.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I feel like it's got to be more than half for sure. I mean, you shouldn't play half the season and expect to, win any awards. It's just not the case. You're ruling out too many people who fairly deserve it. But I also think you're ruling out way too many people who deserve awards that just aren't gonna make that 65 game mark. There's so many stars in this league, especially the ones who are most famous. They're on the other side of 30. Stephen Curry's on the other side of 30. KD's on the other side of 30. LeBron. You got Giannis. You're
Shit,
on the
LeBron.
other side of 30. Jalen Brunson's on the other side of 30. Kawhi, James Harden, they're on the other side of 30.
Man.
You can't expect these people to play most of the season, like 80% of the season. It's just not going to happen. Now, if you want to say, like, hey, like, get rid of the load management and stuff like that and have this at a specific criteria, I'm perfectly fine with that. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, you just got to make it to where it's going to be fun for the voters. It's going to be fun for the fans.